This is who we are. 5 minutes of Marquette County history. Today, let's learn about the history of Brakbush brothers in Marquette County. When you think of Brakbush, you may think of the bright yellow trucks you see on the highways all across the country. Like this one, not delivering chicken, but delivering a Christmas tree to the White House in 2017. Brakbush has delivered Marquette County trees to the White House on several occasions, from both Chapman's Silent Night Evergreens and Schroeder's Forevergreen Firs. It's just one way Brakbush has supported the Marquette County businesses and community. But Brakbush has a long history before the big yellow semis started hauling chicken around the country. It goes back over 100 years to a day in 1904 when Carl and Dina Brakbush joined his brother Henry, who had emigrated from Germany to the township of Westfield in Marquette County, Wisconsin, a time when many immigrants were starting new lives here. The family settled in and worked hard. William, Bill, and Otto Brakbush, the youngest of 14 children, attended the Stalker one-room schoolhouse in the township of Packwaukee. We came from Germany in 1904 when I was 4 and Otto was 3, said Bill in an interview with the Montello Tribune in 1949. Our folks brought us over here because they wanted to give us a chance to live. I mean that. Of the 14 children born to our parents, only 4 are now alive. There were only 6 when we finally managed to get out of Germany. Brothers Bill and Otto married and looked ahead to the future. Like many sons on farms in earlier days, the Brakbush boys stopped going to school after 7th grade to stay home and help on the farm, working alongside their mother and dad. When their father Carl died in 1919, Carl and Bill looked for additional means to make money in order to pay off the farm mortgage. In 1925, they bought a truck and began hauling livestock to packing plants for neighbors. The Brakbush brothers' business had begun. When that proved more lucrative than the farm, they expanded and in 1930 started to buy eggs. The one-truck business began to grow, and they developed a regular route to pick up eggs, then began to candle and grade them before hauling them to the city. They hired their first employees around 1938 to work during peak seasons, and when World War II began and the demand for powdered eggs took off, the brothers began breaking and mixing eggs for drying plants. At that time, they were breaking 1,030,000 eggs a week and marketing in Chicago, New York, and Miami. Bill and Otto were always seeking opportunities and took them when they saw them as sound business. For a time, they stored and distributed sugar. That began with the increased need for sugar in home canning and the lack of distribution points for area stores. The sugar house still stands on Brakbush property. In 1935, even though Prohibition had ended 2 years earlier, bootleggers still operated for many years, and a Brakbush truck was hijacked by 2 gunmen who left the drivers tied up and blindfolded, taking 125 pounds of sugar but leaving all the eggs. There was a feed mill there too up until 1940, and there was a time bananas were hauled up to the Midwest in Brakbush trucks returning from chicken and egg deliveries. In 1941, Brakbush began slaughtering poultry, adding turkeys in the 40s and 50s. Broilers were raised in the broiler house built in 1951. The egg business ended in 1968 and slaughtering stopped in 1973, but the company has continued to develop new products, improve their processing, and maintain an unbeatable quality of food items. Brakbush has hired thousands of people over the years, and generations of Marquette County residents have worked at Brakbush. Some recall as kids catching chickens that had escaped and getting a quarter a chicken. A brakbush bus went to Westfield, Oxford, and Harrisville to pick up workers. It cost $1 a week to ride the bus. The back of the vehicle would have chicken boxed to deliver to Alexander's grocery store in Westfield. In the 1950s, a bus went into Westfield to pick up women workers who didn't drive. Until the Rural Electric Administration brought electricity to Marquette County in 1940, Brakbush operated using a 24-volt Delco generator battery system. Electrification meant they could add refrigeration, which opened more doors to the growth of the company. They built a freezer and space for locker rentals for locals who had no home freezers of their own. Brakbush produced its own ice, and it wasn't long before they were donating ice to local fundraising festivals like the Endeavor Broiler Fest. Their commitment to continue with this support was apparent when, not so long ago, their large ice maker broke. They no longer needed it for their own business since now refrigeration and cooling no longer requires ice. But the family replaced the big machine just so they could keep ice for community activities like Broiler Fest. As their business grew, they expanded and even built the Pioneer Motel as well as the Chicken Outlet store in Westfield, which also just expanded. After a fire in 1979, a longtime worker said, "It brought us together. They'd feed us and women would bring in hot casseroles. That's when they started giving us free coffee and we've had it ever since." Since its start in 1925, Brakbush Brothers has steadily grown in Marquette County. But it has remained a homegrown, family-owned quality business that stays a vital part of the community, helping with local events and supporting Marquette County in many ways. Bill and Otto's first 1925 truck can still be seen in parades, and their history and legacy in Marquette County lives on. Thank you for learning about Marquette County history.